Hi there, Mary Elizabeth Parker here, and this is the week of late videos. So today I'm going to concentrate on Father's Day for my Random Facts Friday / Fun Facts Friday, but unfortunately this week it's turned into another Fun Facts Sunday. But because it is Father's Day, I thought I would talk about the history of that, and there are references to Mother's Day also in this video coming up. So you may want to check out my Mother's Day history video if you want to know how those connect in. So here we go with the facts. Father's Day is a celebration honoring fathers and celebrating fatherhood, paternal bonds, and the influence of fathers in society. It is most commonly celebrated in the months of March or May throughout the world. Catholic Europe actually has celebrated on March 19th, which is also St. Joseph Day or St. Joseph's Feast Day, since the Middle Ages, and they have proof of that, that it has at least gone back to the Middle Ages. There's also the Coptic Church, which unfortunately I do not know much about this church, also observes on St. Joseph's Day, but the Copts observe this celebration on July 20th, and this Coptic celebration may date back to the 5th century. So it's been going back pretty far time for the religious side of this holiday. And then for the Catholics, the celebration was brought by the Spanish and Portuguese to Latin America, where March 19th is still often used. Those countries being known traditionally as Catholic countries. I don't know if they still are fully Catholic, but I think they are still officially considered Catholic countries. So, now to get to the U.S. Father's Day was not celebrated in the U.S. outside of Catholic traditions until the 20th century. As a civic celebration in the U.S., it was inaugurated in the early 20th century to complement Mother's Day by celebrating fathers and male parenting. Now, I take the male parenting side of that to mean not just people who are biologically your father or adoptively your father, but maybe male influences, or even a woman who's taken on the role of doing the quote fatherly traditional things with the child. So those people should really be celebrated too. Whether it be a family friend who's taken on that role, and no matter what the reason why other dad might not be there, there are so many reasons. Celebrate those people too. Why not? Let's celebrate people and their greatness. So back to the facts. Many countries in Europe and the Americas have adopted the U.S. date, which is the third Sunday of June. That's what I get for not looking down anymore. But I'm trying to be better about that. And then the first observance of a Father's Day was held July 5th, 1908 in Fairmont, West Virginia. It was held in the Williams Memorial Methodist Episcopal Church South, which is now known as Central United Methodist Church. Such an easier name to say, quite frankly. The other one was quite the mouthful. So Grace Golden Clayton was mourning the loss of her father when in December of 1907, the Monongah mining disaster, sorry if I murdered that name, killed 361 men, and 250 of them were fathers, which left around 1,000 children fatherless. Clayton suggested that her pastor, Robert Thomas Webb, honor all of those fathers. So at least she wasn't being selfish and saying just my father, she's saying all of these fathers. That had been really hard on that town for so many reasons. But unfortunately, with their celebration, the events were overshadowed by a few things. One was the celebration of Independence Day with 12,000 attendants and several shows, including a hot air balloon event, sorry. And there was also the death of a 16-year-old girl on July 4th. It didn't tell me why in the research I found. I didn't dig further to find out, so if you're curious, let me know below. I will try to look that up if you are interested in finding out. But as a result, the local church also and council were overwhelmed and didn't think to promote it, and it was not celebrated again for many years. Now, some officially failed attempts. In 1911, Jane Addams proposed citywide celebration of Father's Day to be held in Chicago, but was turned down. Then in 1912, a celebration in Vancouver, Washington, suggested by Methodist pastor J.J. Beringer, not sure, sorry, of the Irvington Methodist Church, thought they were the first, but as we know, they actually weren't because of the 1908. And they followed the suggestion by the Portland Oregonian. Another failed attempt was by a man named Harry C. Meek, who was a member of the Lions Club International, and he claimed to first come up with the idea in 1915. Still not the first to come up with the idea, obviously, but that's when he first came up with the idea. And Meek said the third Sunday in June was chosen because it was his birthday. And then the Lions Club named him the originator of Father's Day. Meek made many efforts to promote Father's Day and make it an official holiday, but like I said, it failed at this point. Really, what got the ball rolling was a woman named Sonora Dodd, and on June 19th, 1910, a Father's Day celebration was held at the YMCA in Spokane, Washington by Sonora Dodd. Her father, the Civil War veteran William Jackson Smart, was a single parent of 6 who raised his children there. That's a lot. That's a handful of kids to be taken care of, male or female. Whether you're the mom or the dad, or even the aunts because of something. That's a lot. That's a handful. It's a handful if you're extended family or if you're the parents, to have 6 kids that you're trying to raise on your own and provide for. So I can understand why she wanted to celebrate him on that. And she first proposed the idea to Old Century Presbyterian Church, which is now known as Knox Presbyterian Church, where she was a member, after hearing a sermon about Jarvis's Mother's Day in 1909. She said fathers should have a similar day to honor them to her pastor. Although she initially suggested June 5th, which was her father's birthday, the pastor didn't have time to prepare sermons, and so they deferred it to the third Sunday in June, and several local clergymen adopted the idea, and on June 19th, 1910, the first Father's Day, they had sermons honoring fathers and were presented throughout the city. That is a direct quote that they had up there. Now, in the 1920s, Dodd stopped promoting the celebration because she was studying at the Art Institute of Chicago, and it faded into relative obscurity even in Spokane. In the 1930s, she returned to Spokane and started promoting the celebration again, raising awareness on a national level. So she actually promoted it originally as well, pretty heavily, it sounds like. She at least was really into getting this out there and known. So when she returned, obviously this is beneficial to them, but trade groups that would benefit most helped Dodd, like manufacturers of ties, tobacco pipes, and any other traditional father's type gift. I always call them the stereotypical gift because not everybody has the same tastes. By 1938, she had the help of the Father's Day Council, which was founded by the New York Associated Menswear Retailers, to consolidate and systemize the holiday's commercial promotion. So yeah, they were taking advantage of the commercial aspect, but it got it out there too. So Americans resisted for the first few decades, feeling it was an attempt by merchants to replicate the commercial success of Mother's Day. Understandable considering how many retailers and whatnot were supporting it. And papers featured cynical and sarcastic attacks and jokes to kind of make fun of it and kind of push it aside. But said merchants did remain resilient, and they even incorporated the attacks into their advertisements. I wish I had examples of those, but I did not find time to look for them. And by the mid-1980s, Father's Day Council wrote, "Father's Day has become a second Christmas for all the men's gift-oriented industries." So people were already appreciating their dad, or the dad-like figure. So now we're going to get into the officialness of its holiday recognition. A bill to accord national recognition of the holiday was introduced in Congress in 1913. In 1916, President Woodrow Wilson went to Spokane to speak at a Father's Day celebration and wanted to make it an officially recognized federal holiday. Congress resisted, however, and they were fearing that it would become commercialized. Big difference from today's Congress, I would say, where it seems like capitalism and commercialism is pretty big on their, high up on their list these days, but maybe I'm misjudging based on what I've seen. Could be. Not all of them, just it seems like a lot. So then U.S. President Calvin Coolidge recommended in 1924 that the day be observed throughout the entire nation, but he stopped short at issuing a national proclamation. Two earlier attempts to formally recognize the holiday had been defeated by Congress. Now, getting closer. We're getting closer to it being a holiday. In 1957, Maine Senator Margaret Chase Smith, a woman, mind you, wrote a Father's Day proposal accusing Congress of ignoring fathers for 40 years while honoring mothers, singling out just one of our two parents. So she's saying we should have equal recognition of both. Equality goes both ways, everyone. That's my opinion, and it goes across more boards than just saying equal rights. It's also equal consequences, because when you don't give equal consequences, you're giving a new right to somebody else. Just saying. Get off my soapbox for a little bit there. Anyway, so in 1966, Lyndon B. Johnson issued the first presidential proclamation honoring Father's Day, designating the third Sunday in June as Father's Day. 6 years later, the day was made a permanent national holiday when President Richard Nixon, yes, Tricky Dicky, as he was also known, signed it into law in 1972. So he did leave a good legacy in there. I know that there are a lot of people who don't like Nixon, but he did do some good out there. Yes, he did. He did some questionable things too, but he did do something good. Now, as a side note, in addition to Father's Day, there is also an International Men's Day, which is celebrated in many countries on November 19th in honor of men and boys who are not fathers. So, for those who choose not to have children, you are also honored on a day in November. Hopefully you learned something new and enjoyed this. If you get to spend time with your dad, enjoy it. If not, that's okay. I just gave my dad a phone call. That's usually what I do for things like Father's Day and Mother's Day, because I don't live close to my parents. Several hour drive, and they have grandchildren close to where they live. So if they end up seeing any of the children, I think that would be more important. But I hope you're all having a great weekend, and like I said, I hope you learned something. May I get back on a regular video schedule again this week, and not turn it into a bad habit. But have a great weekend, have a great day, enjoy yourselves, and please be kind to each other.